Tonight, Ghana's proposed cybersecurity bill, a threat to free speech or a necessary shield.
The ramifications for you being seen as contravening some of these offenses make this draconian, make this unsuitable for the current day and age and society that we have.
We have details as pressure mounts on government to completely drop the proposed bill. We'll hear from the minority in parliament, which is accusing government of seeking to introduce criminal libel laws.
The big economic policy that is submitted just mentions these programs, that a figure is put by it. The minister will show up at committee level to defend.
We'll have details of all of these here on Top Story, brought to you always by Telecel Connecting Energies, also by Holy Insecticide Spray and Coil. Enjoy a holy sleep and Short Pension Trust. Into the future with you. Well, government tonight is facing a fierce backlash over a proposed cybersecurity amendment bill, which critics say poses serious threat to free speech and individual freedoms. The bill, sponsored by the Communications Ministry, aims to safeguard the country's digital space and prevent cyber abuse. However, its sweeping provisions sparked widespread disapproval, with many arguing that it could be used to stifle dissent and muscle free speech. As the bill undergoes stakeholder consultations, its contents are drawing sharp public criticism, with many wondering if the government is prioritizing cybersecurity over citizens' rights. We'll get reaction shortly, but member of our legal desk, Kweku Asante, has been pouring through the content of this bill and joins me with some details. Kweku, which sections of this bill is facing these challenges?
So, Grace, a number of the sections in this bills have all been facing set scrutiny on social media and also on mainstream in the last few days. Particularly, if you look at Section 4A and 59B, is what deals with investigative and prosecutorial powers. Under this section, the CSA, that is the Cybersecurity Authority, will be empowered to investigate and prosecute cybercrime, freeze property, and confiscate assets. In fact, specifically says it also imposes some penalty. In fact, imprisonment of up to 5 years or a fine of up to 20,000 penalty units or both. The concern here is that this section seem to merge regulation, investigation, and prosecution into one body, and it creates a lot of room for political abuse or intimidation, especially when it comes to cases involving digital activism and all of that. And then another part of this bill that is getting a lot of flack is the police powers that the civil society organization CSA is going to get. Section 20B actually authorizes the Cybersecurity Authority's Director General and their officers to exercise full police powers. This includes arrests, search, seizures, and whenever they do that and they find any offense or you resist or anything of that sort, you could go to prison up to 5 years or face a fine of up to 20,000 penalty units. Then it compels disclosure of information. So the Cybersecurity Authority can also demand information from any person or company, and failure to comply with this request is a criminal offense. And you can face a term of imprisonment of 1 to 2 years or 10,000 penalty units maximum. And so that has also sparked some concerns. Another part is the search, seizure, and preservation of data when it comes to this. If you look at the bill, it says CSA investigators are allowed to obtain ex parte, that is, without notice to you, they can go to court and get orders to access, seize, or preserve computer data. And if you fail to comply, you can go to jail for 5 years or suffer a penalty of 20,000 penalty units. They also have a power of entry and inspection, even without a warrant. So the Cybersecurity Authority can enter and audit every premise and examine computer systems. They can just look into the computer, even without a warrant. But that is provided they give a 7 days notice. So if they give you 7 days notice, they can just then barge in, look into your computers if they suspect certain things are going on wrong over there. And then this part is where the minority particularly talking about how it will criminalize free speech. If you look at Section 67A, It says that a person shall not use an electronic device or a medium to deliberately spread false or misleading information with the intent to deceive or manipulate a person or fact. If you do this, you can go to jail between 3 and 5 years. The question is who determines what is misleading, what is false, and so these conversations have been quite big on Twitter. And then you look at 67A and 3B. It says a person shall not create a false identity online or a fake social media profile for the purpose of following an adult where the contact is unacceptable. If your name is Samuel Kojo based on your ID, but you created another Facebook account with another name, the concern is that this provision may allow the government to come after you, especially when they say that you are spreading false information, among other things. And then this, particularly maybe Samuel Okujuta Black will be interested. It says a person shall not use an online computer service or any other electronic device to track the location of another person without the consent of that person. So if you track someone's movements without the consent of that person, we know that in the last 3-4 years, Samuel Okujuta Black was big on tracking President Akufo-Addo's flight movements and all of that, which he said at the time exposed the profligate expenditure of the government at the time. If you do this tracking, you can also spend some time in jail. So really interesting insights in there with this draft bill, which is still undergoing stakeholder consultation. The ministry have given some time for the public to submit memorandum in terms of what exactly they want to see in the revisions and all of that. And these particular sections, about 8 of them, have in particular sparked some agitations among the public.
Well, former Information Minister Kojo Nkrumah says the bill is dangerous and an encroachment on free speech. Listen to him.
A draft. I want to consult on that draft. From what I have seen as a former information minister, this draft is dangerous, though it's not surprising. And let me explain why it's not surprising. It's not surprising because I think the president first announced it, that they are going to use the national security apparatus to go after people who make comments on social media that they consider, for whatever reason, whether it's under hate speech or it's under whatever, they consider it unfavorable. They're going to search for your IP addresses and then get the security apparatus to go after you. The president himself said it. So it's not surprising that his minister is now following up with a draft bill with such wild provisions in there. What is dangerous about it is that over the last set of decades, various countries have been moving away from criminalizing speech. There are other remedies for speech that may be deemed unfavorable, most of them civil, but not necessarily criminalizing it. And that's why you would recall that even the Criminal Libel and Sedition Act was repealed by the Kufuor administration. There are still remnants of laws that still seek to criminalize speech. For example, this law that is being used a lot, publication of false news, with intent of causing fear and panic, is one of those laws that actually still needs to be repealed. Instead of repealing that to advance, democratic freedoms, the government is now seeking through this draft that it wants to consult on to enact legislation that will now even ensure that when you put up a comment in your chat groups and they find it offensive according to their criteria, you could go to jail. And I think it's a very dangerous, encroachment into the area of free speech. The government needs to tread cautiously.
Now, that's a former Information Minister, Kojo Nkrumah. Now, Imani, Africa's Vice President for Innovation and Strategy, Selon Brantier, also says the punishment prescribed in the bill are draconian and completely unsuitable.
We are looking at sweeping changes to the current digital infrastructure in terms of the people who should partake in it, as well as those of us who are consumers of social media or digital media. And it is therefore very important that we really look at what we as users or we as people who communicate on a daily basis have the right to do vis-a-vis the government's responsibility to also ensure security, law and order. And what we believe is that a lot of the lecturing for the cybersecurity bill, for example, is ambiguous in terms of the kinds of offenses that they are being talked about, that are being discussed, and the ramifications for you being seen as contravening some of these offenses make this draconian, make this unsuitable for the current day and age and society that we have. Because you are looking at things that would either be minor or major and bottling it up into just one category and then criminalizing all of it. There are instances where people create secondary social media accounts or secondary digital identities, not because they want to stalk someone, but it could be interpreted as so. There are a lot of us who have what we call backup accounts that they can sometimes use to make commentary. And sometimes even because of, by virtue of where you work and all of that, you might not be at liberty to be making certain statements. And therefore, people use some of these backup accounts for things like that. But that is not even the core of it. The core of it is that it is a dangerous thing to have laws like this, or some of the stipulations in laws like this, dictating what should be the government's response or the security apparatus' response to some of these things that happen digitally, because in the wrong hands, this could be used to abuse the personal rights of many individuals and could be used to target people perceived as political opponents or people perceived as not liked by anybody who is in authority.
This is Top Story brought to you by Telecel Connecting Energies, Holy Insecticide Spray and Coil. Enjoy a holy sleep and also Shield Pension Trust into the future with you. I've been joined on the line by Kojo Pong Kruma, the Member of Parliament for Ofori. Thank you so much, Honorable, for joining us here. Now, is this something your government ever considered when you were in power?
No. We spoke a lot about the threat of misinformation and disinformation, and we rolled out a number of things aimed at helping to deal with that threat, but none of them was aimed at criminalizing speech, as is being done now. And I think it's important to mention that many people think that there's only one law the government is looking at. That is the Cybersecurity Act Amendment Bill. I don't know if it has come into our attention that there's also the misinformation, disinformation, hate speech, and publication of other information bill. I don't know if that has come to your attention.
No, none, but I'll cross-check with my legal desk.
Okay, so there's actually two pieces of legislation that have been drafted. The second one is the misinformation, disinformation bill, which says that, for example, a station like Joy FM, your license can be revoked if there is the view that you are misinforming. What that will mean is that, for example, where, let's say, government disagrees with you on something, like we did when we were in power, we disagreed with you on something. Under the new law, the government will have the power to have your license suspended or revoked just because they disagree with you. And
per that bill, who determines if a station is misinforming?
So they have created a division under the Cybersecurity Authority, which division is now being given the powers of police, have been given unprecedented funds, is being given the powers to seize and search. I mean, a whole raft of powers that you will find scary. And then they're also empowering some courts to be able to exact some of these actions. Now, the point we have made is that if you disagree with what somebody is saying, and you even need to exact some remedies, criminalizing it is not the way to go. And that from about the 1960s, Ghana has very much spoken against any law that seeks to suppress dissent or free speech. Because it is these same laws that then you find authoritarian regimes using to suppress freedoms. So around the 1960s, for those who are familiar with history, there was a Preventive Detention Act that was introduced, and it gave a broad scope of what we called security. And if they were of the view that you were doing something inimical to the security of the state or to prejudice the security of the state, then you could be detained. It was that kind of legislation that was then used to detain people for several months, some of who died in prison. You recall the criminal and seditious libel laws, which also sent a lot of people to prison just because the authorities did not find favor with some of the things they were expressing. And today, if you look at the Cybersecurity Authority Amendment Bill, people could go to jail for up to 10 years because they published what is considered by the authorities as false in a group. And now if you come and look at the misinformation, disinformation, and hate speech and publication and other information bill, you, Joy FM, for example, can easily lose your license because the authorities are of the view that what we have published is inimical to the interest of the state, and they define those parameters in various ways as false or as untrue, or one of those expressions that they come up with. So I think what we are saying is that this is dangerous. I think I've even heard other people referring to the fact that we are treading on very dangerous ground. It's important for the government to pull back and rather employ more civil measures like we did in an effort to deal with the very genuine risk of misinformation and disinformation.
So you're saying these are two separate bills, and in terms of the one that says a station can lose its license, is there an opportunity to be created for the station to then justify why it published all that, or per the law, government can go ahead and do what it wants to do if it finds it?
Oh, as for justify, you can justify, but the moment you begin to give such powers, then you can have worries about it being in wrong hands. If I had one of your commentators speak about, you cannot be a clairvoyant and predict who will handle these powers what day. So you don't make some laws at all. If you make them and these laws get into hands that you don't feel comfortable with, you could be in trouble. Today, for example, we have had instances where people write on TikTok and are remanded in police custody for 2 weeks. Nobody in this country can say he's not aware of it. We've had instances where people speak on Facebook and under some criminal provisions, they are remanded in BNI custody, driven in Black Maria vehicles as though they were hardened criminals, just because they said something somebody wasn't happy about. And there's even worry that those remnant laws still criminalize speech should be removed from our statute books. It is therefore worrying that the government wants to deepen it by now saying that they want to pass laws to allow the Cybersecurity Division to suspend or revoke your license.
I'm sure the intent of government is to check how some people are abusing the airspace, that they could sit on radio and say whatever they want without probably evidence. Isn't that something that we all must support, but probably the way that is being handled that we have issues with?
So two things I'll say to that. When they were passing the Preventive Detention Act, this is some of the arguments that people made, that I'm sure the government is trying to sanitize the system. That was the law that was used to leave people in jail until they rotted to death. It can never be a justification to pass bad laws. Second is that, yes, there are excesses. But in 1991, for your listeners who will remember, the Constituent Assembly was considering, for example, Chapter 12 of the current Constitution that we have, and a discussion as to whether we should open up the landscape with the risk of what they called ugly noises. This country, our forebears, agreed that we prefer a system with ugly noises to a culture of silence. For those who are not familiar, there are lots of writings on this. We have gone past that era, and that is why criminal, seditious libel were all repealed. Now, on our watch, we tried to contain the situation, but not by jailing people for up to 10 years. So I'm sure you recall that when we found instances where journalists were making excesses, Instead of proposing laws to jail them for 10 years, we said, let's do a media capacity enhancement program. Provide the process for us to start that program of supporting media people who even commit excesses to know how to do it better. You will recall the various public sensitization exercises, conferences, etc., that we held for that. You recall the fact-checking platforms that we encouraged, some of which we launched, Ubawa and all of those ones, the ISD Media Center that we put up to be able to provide fact so that even if you were in doubt, you could go there. You recall when everybody was scared to pass the Right to Information Act, we pushed the RTI Act to be passed. Why? So that if you want information, there's a chance to get the correct information and not misinform or fabricate. So you can deal with it by proactively supporting free expression and in so doing, curbing what causes some of the excesses. Don't deal with it by saying that if you say something I consider false, I'll jail you for up to 10 years. That is something that I think everybody should be very worried about because it's a dangerous of credentials and it should not be countenanced.
How does the minority in Parliament intend to deal with this if this comes to the House?
I'm not communication subcommittee. I am speaking because you called me as a former information minister to speak.
Yes.
But as a member of the minority, engaging the sentiment within our caucus, I am clear that if this draft bill as is finds its way onto the floor, there will be fierce resistance. And I am very sure that the minority will employ every legal avenue available to ensure that these draft provisions do not become part of the laws of the Republic of Ghana. It is dangerous, my brother. Today, you may think it doesn't affect you. Tomorrow, when they are using this law to put you in jail for up to 10 years because you wrote something in your chat group, then you realize that this advocacy that we are doing is in your interest.
Grateful to you, Kojo Oponkroma, for joining us here. He is MP for Ofori Ayerebida. Let me bring in Salom Brantier, who's Vice President Imani Africa. Salom, we're all worried about how excesses are on social media, for example. Governments wants to check this, but we feel that the way it is going about it is not probably right. What must government do, or how best can we deal with the excesses? Hello, Salom, do I have you? Salom Brantier is Vice President of Imani Africa. Salom, if I have you, I want to find out from you how best government can deal with the excesses. We've all said this bill is in the way it is now is not good. But how can government go about it to ensure to have a good bill to deal with the excesses that it wants to check? Hello, Salom. Okay, let me check. Maybe Salom is on Zoom. Salom. Hello. Okay, we'll try it and raise Salom again. Salom, if I have you, I want to find out from you. Once you are someone who's also quite, vocal in this space, government is interested, per what we hear, to check the excesses. What do you think government must do? Once we all say this bill is quite in a bad taste, what should government do to get it right? Salom, do I have you?
Yes.
Did you hear my question, sir?
I did.
Okay, great. So I want to pick your thought on what you think government can do to get it right.
Yes. So I believe that this is a time for a lot of extensive consultation to be done to ensure that the will of the people is heard. I believe that the discussions have been extensive enough with regard to the provisions of the bill, especially with the fact that having a digital alias should not be something that should be warranted as a criminal activity, especially in the context of how ambiguous some of these provisions are. And it therefore means that we will need to have the letter of the law or the draft bill very clear and unambiguous in terms of the stipulations that it offers, so that we do not have people misinterpreting or using it for their advantage, because it might not even be this government, but whoever decides, or might not be this current minister, but whoever decides that they would want to use this to clamp down or gag people, we would have basically an open field to do so, because a lot of these things are subject to the interpretation of whoever is in charge. And this is not how we should do laws, especially when it comes to issues of people communicating freely with each other, sharing ideas, or even doing things like satire, for example, or trying to do write things under pseudonyms, because it is just like how if you wanted to write something under a pen name, for example, and there's things like this, some of these things would be considered illegal and for you to be liable to go to jail. So I believe that this is the time that we all need to come together as a people and then decide that these are the thresholds we want to use, or these are the thresholds under which we want to operate, and then very clear about what the boundaries or barriers are, and that we should not use this to stifle free speech or gag independent voices or voices that need to be heard, that the nation needs to hear.
Should government scrap this bill and probably come back with a better one?
They don't need to scrap it. There are certain provisions that are very important, especially with the new, with the slew of new digital products and services that are coming into the system. But what they do need to do is to ensure that the rights that are enshrined in the Constitution for individuals or for small businesses or for body corporates are safeguarded to the extent that it cannot be used or abused by people who are in power for inquisitorial purposes.
Salom, I'm grateful to you for joining us here. Salom Brante is Vice President Imani Africa. This has been Top Story, brought to you by Telecel Connecting Energies, Holy Insecticide Spray and Coil Enjoy, Holy Sleep, and also by Shield Pension Trust. Into the future with you. My name is Samuel Kojo. Up next is Newsnight, right after these.
I send them, you get them. I get them, I send them.
I get them.
I pay them.
Telecel cash. I get them. I take them. Telecel cash.
You get them.
I send them. Telecel cash.
I send them. You get them.
Telecel cash.
I get them.
I buy them. I take them.
I pay them. I send them.
Telecel cash. Telecel cash.
Experience the ultimate convenience of sending money on Telecel Cash. Sending money from Telecel Cash to Telecel Cash is free. You can also make payments to merchants on all networks. Enjoy best value and total security with Telecel Cash.
Telecel, connecting energies.
Ade, couldn't sleep at night. Mosquitoes will be whining in my ears, bugging me all night long. Till I got a remedy. Now I'll be spraying them away with holy insecticide spray. I go spray them away with holy insecticide spray. When I sleep, me dana with holy insecticide spray.
Holy mosquito coil, holy multi-purpose insecticide spray. Ghana Kron Kron. For bulk purchase, call 0302 681582. This advert is FDA approved.
No. You look so relaxed and cheerful these days. What's your secret?
No secret, Kofi. I just sorted out my retirement with Shield Pension Trust. You should talk to them.
Retirement? There's more time before pension.
Share. The earlier you start, the better. And Shield Pension Trust makes this so easy for you. They've got amazing plans to choose from. I even signed up for the Shield Cedi Crow a Day personal pension scheme, which lets you save as little as 1 Ghana Cedi a day towards your retirement. Isn't that great?
1 cedi a day.
Exactly. And the best part is, I sign up automatically on the Dachia Pomoden plan, which guarantees me medical insurance when I go on retirement.
Hey, you've convinced me. I need to sign up now.
Kofi is making a move to secure his future and health insurance when he goes on retirement. What about you? Go to Shield Pension Trust or call us now on 050-915-0253 and we'll guide you through securing your pension tomorrow. Shield Pension Trust, into the future with you.
Announcing Ghana's first unlimited photocopier leasing. Yes, from just 983 Ghana cedis, you can lease a multifunctional photocopier and print unlimited. Yes, unlimited and free paper every month. Guess what? That's not all. Toners, repairs, and maintenance all are free. And oh, I'm not kidding at all. And we cover the whole country. Yes, the whole country. What are you waiting for? Just visit us at www.valexlease.com or call 0244 6440 4048. I repeat, or call 0244-644048. Remember, terms and conditions apply. Valix Lee's Affordable Document Management Solutions.
It's been 10 blazing years of fire, pride, and brotherhood. Get ready as the Blue Magicians light up the sky once again. On Friday, 31st October, 6 p.m. sharp, all roads lead to the Presec Legon campus for the Odadia Torch and Bonfire Night 2025, the 10th anniversary edition. Experience the iconic torch procession, massive bonfire lighting, and unforgettable performances. A night of music, memories, and magic, where the past meets the present and the flames of legacy burn brighter than ever. Hosted by the 2015 year group with special appearances from the generations of proud Odadia brothers. This year, headline artist Black Sharif.
Decisions I made in my pajamas.
Also performing live, Araza J, Solenke, J Cliff, Roni, Lamem Gang, DWP, with your favorite DJ's favorite DJ, DJ Black. This show will be live on the Weekend Warmer on Joy FM. Come relieve the nostalgia, the chance, the brotherhood, because once an Odadia, always an Odadia. The Odadia Torch and Bonfire Night 2025. 10 years of keeping the fire alive. For inquiries, kindly call 0242-705-983. So, in the effervescent spirit of our joyous anthem, join us as we cheer. Oh, come along and join us. This show is in partnership with your Super Hits Radio, Joy 99.7 FM.
In the next 60 minutes here on Newsnight, Minority Chief Whip files RTI request to presidency demanding full disclosure on investigations into tragic helicopter crash that claimed the lives of defense and environment ministers and 6 others. We bring you details of the developing story.
Also coming up, fear lingers in Binduri despite an easy calm after attack that claimed lives of 2 children and an adult last Sunday.
And it doesn't look like this is going to stop anytime soon. So if you speak to residents, ordinary citizens, what most of them are calling for is increase in the security patrols in the area.
We'll speak to the DC for the area on new security measures to prevent further attacks.
Well, also tonight, controversy erupts over Education Minister's directive for schools to use local language as a primary medium of instruction in schools.
You know, the teachers that are churning out from the College of Education and the university, their language, most of them are not taught. The local language, most of them are not taught in our colleges of education.
We'll hear from the teacher trainees and CSOs in education who believe the policy is premature.
There are some kind of colleges of education, you know, they don't have those courses that run throughout the 4-year study.
Challenges and comments that are coming, that have faced his announcement. So for me, the announcement was premature. It was not needed.
And in business, IC Research forecasts Bank of Ghana to cut policy rate further to 19% at its next Monetary Policy Committee meeting next month.
You want to stay with us for that, plus sports and your comments. 055-1111-997. My name is Evans Mensah.
And I am Pearl Ofori.
And we start tonight from Parliament, where we're learning the Minority Chief Whip has just filed an RTI request to the presidency demanding full disclosure on investigations into the tragic helicopter crash that claimed the lives of the defense and environment ministers, as well as 6 others. Parliamentary correspondent Kweku Asante is with us in the studio with details of this. Kweku, what more do we know?
So we know that the president, at the time he set up this committee, gave them 30 days to work. Since then, there's been little to, in fact, no public update in terms of what exactly is happening. Honorable Habib Idrisu has filed this request at the office of the president demanding more. So he starts by saying that I write to request information or an update regarding the tragic aircraft accident that occurred on August 6, 2025. This heartbreaking event took the lives of the following 8 remarkable Ghanaians. It goes on to name the 8 people that tragically lost their lives in that accident. It says the nation mourned together following this profound loss. On August 25, 2025, a committee of inquiry was established to investigate the circumstances surrounding the accident, and the public was informed that the findings will be shared within 30 days. In light of the time that has passed and the significant public interest in this matter, I respectfully request a copy of the investigative report or update. This request is made in accordance with Article 21(1)(f) of the 1992 Constitution of Ghana, which upholds our right to information, as well as Section 18 of the Right to Information Act. The public deserves to know what led to this tragic loss of such prominent figures and dedicated public servants. Therefore, I kindly ask for the full and final report from the investigative committee or any update from the committee. I also understand that some of the aspects of the investigation may take longer to finalize. If the complete report is not yet available, I would appreciate if you could release a partial or interim report. This will not only keep the public informed, but also reflect the government's commitment to transparency during this difficult time. So, Evans, that is the RTI request that has landed on the presidency's desk from Habib Idrisu, the first deputy minority whip.
And he joins us on the line right now. Mr. Idris, thanks for your time here on News. Now, I find this intriguing, considering that you're the minority chief whip and Parliament is in session. You have the tools at your disposal in Parliament to get the answers that you are seeking. Why an RTI request?
Thank you, Evans. Considering the content of the letter and the incident that happened, I have a lot of options, like you did indicate. But I chose this path because I know the president is the commander-in-chief of the Ghana Armed Force, and the strategy that happened involved many from the military. The minister of the president constituted a committee, and we were informed that within 30 days they should be able to submit a report. At the moment, nothing is happening. One of them, the then Minister for Environment, Science and Tech, who was a member of Parliament, has already been replaced in Parliament. And the new member of Parliament for Tamale Central has been sworn in. We haven't heard anything, and many people think that it is of interest for them to do. I think this one would be faster, considering the fact that I have to file a question in Parliament, and then probably it might take time for it to be responded. But I think that this would be the right way, since the president himself is the commander of the Ghana Armed Forces.
You don't agree that this borders on sensitive, possibly national security matters, that an RTI request will be inadequate to get you the answers?
Yes, I don't think in general, but actually we need to know what happened. As citizens, we should be able to know exactly what happened, that we have to lose our defense minister, that we have to lose all these good Ghanaians who have served the country diligently. It wouldn't be something that we think that we are going to sweep under the carpet. We have had a lot of air crash investigations and other things that have been made public. I don't think that one will be an exception, but it will definitely be able to inform us. It will even help us as members of Parliament and citizens to support the government to be able to see what actually we can do. Because we are all aware that for some time they said the presidential jet is not fit for purpose. Others are saying that this and that. So there are a lot of things that is going on the air. But if we are able to get the report, and we know some of us in the minority will be able to support the government to do a lot of things. I did indicate in my request to the president that I understand some of the things will take long, but I understand that there are some aspects of it that they can make public for us. Even I am surprised even to have heard from many people that even the black box, to analyze the black box, Ghana, we don't have the capacity to analyze it. The aircraft simulation, we don't have the capacity as a country to be able to analyze that. These are very worrying things to many of us, including us members of Parliament who represent our people. So I think that the president, the fact that he has mourned with us, he has been able to handle this matter very well. But the fact that they have informed us that within 30 days they are going to make the report, or the committee should be able to finish their work. And we have heard nothing. And this is not a matter that we should be very, very quiet about.
If you don't get the answers you're seeking through this RTI request, what will you do?
I have other options, and among other options that I will be able to trigger when we get there. But I'm very positive that the president will respond to this. But if that doesn't happen, I have other options of either filing a motion for a bilateral committee to be able to get into what actually happened to it. I can file a question, but because of the strategy of this, if you are filing a question, the question is to who? Is it the minister responsible for defense? And at the moment, we don't have a substantive minister responsible for that.
An acting defense minister. He's as good as the defense minister himself. So you can't.
Yes, but so that is why, on an acting capacity, I choose to go via the RTI, and when that doesn't succeed, then I'll advise myself with regards to other options that is available to me.
Thank you very much. And that there is the Minority Chief Whip, Habib Idrisu, there on the night when he filed an RTI request to the presidency demanding full disclosure on investigations into the tragic helicopter crash that claimed the lives of the defense and environment ministers as well as 6 others.
Let's go to the Upper East region now, and there is uneasy calm. Uneasy calm has returned to Binduri following a late-night attack that claimed 3 lives and left 2 others injured. The incident occurred on Sunday when unidentified gunmen opened fire on a family residence, killing 2 children and an adult. The assailants reportedly struck under the cover of darkness and fled the scene immediately after the shooting. The 2 injured victims include George Bukari, manager of Binduri-based Max Empire Radio and TV. They are receiving treatment at a nearby hospital. Although the motive behind the attack is still unclear, local sources suspect it may be linked to renewed tensions from the long-standing Boku conflict, which resurfaced earlier this year. Our Pais regional correspondent Albert Sori says the residents are still recovering from the incident.
Yes, there is uneasy calm now. This is not the first time an incident like this has been recorded in the Binduri district. You remember some time earlier this year, there were some shootings there where someone was killed and bent together with a motorbike, and several other incidents that happened in that district. And so this looks like something that is happening again, and the residents are not comfortable with what is happening. They feel that there is still tension, but outside of that, calm has returned for now. What we have learned is that many of the residents, including even the chief of Binduri, is calling for increased security because, as I said, it looks like there are one too many incidents happening. People are getting killed, and it doesn't look like this is going to stop anytime soon. So if you speak to residents, ordinary citizens, what most of them are calling for is increase in the security patrols in the area. And so it's one of the things that the Regional Security Council is likely to be looking at as we speak.
And Pearl, there's a push tonight for the authorities there, the security authorities there, to enhance patrol and build the capacity of the local vigilante groups to help curb further violence. Let's listen to Dr. Victor Docker, as a security analyst.
I think what we need to understand is the complexity of the situation. The dynamics which has changed with regards to the conflict itself has made it very challenging for state authorities and civil society to have a way out with regards to addressing it. Irrespective, you have curfews in place. One would think that the curfews would be, an antidote to these killings and then, hit and run murders. But it is not. The issue is that you have curfews from 6 p.m., for example, 6 p.m. to 5 a.m. or whatnot. The rest of the daytime, people come out. They perform their activities, they go around, and that is when those criminal elements who perpetrate these crimes also find ways and means to also ascertain, analyze the situation, pick out their targets, and then, effect their operations when it is due them. The conflict itself, as it is now, from my perspective, is on hibernation. Why do I say so? You have hot clashes or armed clashes between the two sides which have halted for some time. It's just these criminal elements that are perpetrating, one-off criminal activities, shooting people here and there. Until the mediation is done for the roadmap to be, effected and then laid out for states, agencies, civil society to, be the role, focal people to effect these recommendations. We'll be having one of these, intermittently. These issues will be coming up, but then we need to enhance the patrol, mechanism. The security services enhance their patrol. We need to also foster and build capacity of the community youths who are, playing the role of vigilantes or community watchdogs in this regard. Daytime, sensitize the market women, sensitize everybody, educate them. Whenever you see people on motorbikes or whatever, the smoke wearing, if we can also bring back the ban on smoke wearing or something like that, 2 people shouldn't be sitting on a motorbike. I think this will also help.
I had a security analyst, Dr. Victor Doke. Now we have on the lines our Upper East Regional Correspondent, Albert Sori. Albert Sori, thank you for your time on Newsnight. What's the update with regards to this story? Any arrest made?
The scam has returned this evening, but again, the questions are being asked about until when will this, how this scam is going to stay until the next attack, because for many residents, the issue has always been what they call the firefighting approach to the violence. When attacks happen, then the security is enforced. But soon after the calm returns, then it looks like security is relaxed, and then the next attack happens again. So many of the residents are wondering when this is permanently going to stop.
You talk about security. Tell us about the current security presence in the area.
What we know is that the military patrols patrolling all the areas around Oko. And so this patrol, there are a number of military people who patrol Binduri as well. This afternoon, I was talking to some of the residents, including the chief, and he was of the view that it appears the visibility of the military isn't enough, and it looks as though, despite their presence, they don't know why these attacks keep happening. But what we know is that RECSEC had a meeting today, and discussions are ongoing as to how they can strengthen the security further and hopefully permanently, resolve these attacks.
Going back to my earlier question, have any arrests been made or leads from the police regarding the identities of these gunmen?
No, we haven't heard of any arrests yet. Ever since this happened, there hasn't been any official communication from the police yet, and so we can't confirm that, but we haven't heard of any arrest of any of the perpetrators so far.
Albert Sori, Upper East Regional Correspondent, thank you for your time.
It's a live here on Newsnight. It's on Joy 99.7 FM. And pal, I went to the government school. Let's call it Saito. It's a proper Saito.
I don't know about that.
I'm telling you.
I'm wondering. It's news to me.
It shouldn't be. I wonder, when you went to school, basic level, say primary, kindergarten to 3, what was the primary medium of communication?
English.
English?
Yes.
So it was for me.
I attended the youngsters. It's just over here.
Okay, that's a good school, by the way. I went to Saito, and even there, it was still English. And there was this particular teacher of ours who was asking us to speak English, but she was telling us to speak English in a local dialect, and that was how challenging it was in that school. But there is some controversy tonight about this particular subject, because the education minister has now directed that local languages should be the primary medium of instruction in schools.
Well, the move announced by the minister aims to promote indigenous languages and cultural identity. However, critics argue that the policy isn't practical in its implementation, not well planned. Have a listen to Harun Idisu make the announcement at Mauli Senior High School's 75th anniversary celebration.
It's a present instruction that Ghanaian local language counts the medium of instruction for all learners. We have scientific evidence both from Oxford and Cambridge that when learners learn with familiar language, there are better learning outcomes.
But the announcement has left many teachers confused and worried about how feasible this will be in classrooms across the country. Deputy Education Minister Dr. Clement Opak has since clarified the policy applies only from kindergarten to primary 3, not all basic level schools.
Honorable Minister for Education, Harun Idisu, has asked me to clarify that the policy directive he announced on Friday regarding the compulsory use of mother tongue as a medium of instruction in our public basic schools is confined, emphasis, confined to KG up to primary 3. In other words, KG and lower primary.
Well, there have been some misreaction to this, and I'll bring you more reactions pretty shortly. But I want to first start with school heads and teachers who spoke to Joy News. They welcomed it.
For the mother tongue, it's a good idea, but it should be limited because, let's say, in some of our courses that we are reading, you can't teach science with, let's say, some of our, let's say, tree, gun, and all that, because there are scientific words that you can't mention in gun or tree.
I agree with the minister because most of our limits do not even understand the English as an official language. They are now learning. And once something that we are learning, we cannot actually use it to teach unless you use second language to support what somebody will say, what does it mean? But when you say ko, then it's like you have come to the sense of the child. So the child is able to understand you better. But you see, we don't use English or another language to teach another language. If you are teaching English, then that is English. That is my only comment about that.
To me, that is what works for me. Anytime I'm explaining something and I realize I'm not getting, when you look at their face, you could tell that they don't really understand what you're saying. But the moment you translate it to tree, or maybe you bring in the tree a little, then you hear the class, oh, okay, then they start contributing. So to me, it's good. It's not like using it throughout, but at least you blend it, you bring it in.
But the Ghana National Association of Teachers warns that the policy could face serious hurdles. Its president, Reverend Isaac Owusu, says teachers are simply not ready to deliver in local languages.
It is not something new that has implemented. This is the first time we are hearing it. You know, we've implemented similar programs some years back under the NALAP program, where at the early grade, i.e. from kindergarten 1 to class 3, teachers were made to use the mother tongue in terms of percentage. From KG1 to KG2, you use 60% of the local language and then 40% in summary after what the teacher has taught. But the challenge confronted that policy previously was that, you know, the teachers that are churning out from the College of Education and the university, their languages, most of them are not taught. The local languages, most of them are not taught in our colleges of education. So I believe that to make this policy very effective, I think the ministry can liaise with the colleges of education and universities so that going forward, the teacher training that will be coming out to teach the children, there should be some kind of specialization so that if the teacher is maybe Ghana, should not be posted outside the region, so that at least that teacher will be conversant with the language to enable the early grade children to appreciate the mode of teaching. And I think it's a good thing that we all have to applaud the minister for bringing it up for us for discussion.
You had the president of the Ghana National Association of Teachers, Reverend Isaac. So let's stay more on the story and being joined by Dr. Peter Anti. He's the executive director of the Institute of Education Studies. Good evening and thank you for your time on Newsnight. You think this is a great initiative by the government?
Thank you for having me. I don't think this is something new that we should be having the conversation around it in that light. The way the policy was communicated seems to suggest that this is something new that is coming. And as the NAT person said, there's been a series of policies in that direction within that space. to ensure that the local language is the mode of instruction at the kindergarten and basic 1 to 3. The reason why we've not been able to achieve it are the reasons that were enumerated by the NAT person. So what I was expecting the ministry to have done was to give us what they are doing to ensure a very comprehensive implementation of this particular policy that is in our education strategic plan and is also in our pre-tertiary education curriculum framework.
Is it already compulsory?
The conversation from the minister should have been, these are the challenges why we've not been able to achieve this particular policy that we have in our books.
Yeah,
these are the things that we are doing to ensure that we'll be able to address these challenges so that within the next 2, 3, 1 year, we'll be able to go out with a full implementation of the
Peter.
policy.
Can you hear me?
That would have given us a direction as to how the conversation would have been by now.
Yeah, Peter, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Is this already compulsory?
In the policy, the pre-tertiary education policy curriculum framework and the 2018 education strategic plan, which is supposed to end 2030, it is indicated that at KG and the basic 1 to 3, students should be taught in a language that they appreciate and they understand, which we call the L1. So that is being the practice over the years. The reason why you can't say it's compulsory is because the implementation has been very difficult. So if you have if you know the history of this, within 2014, 2015, the current vice president tried to ensure that this is implemented fully. She was not successful because of the teething challenges that faced that implementation. Between 2018-19 and 2020-2021, there about this conversation resurfaced, and we were not able to push for a full implementation, that is 100% implementation, because of the teething challenges. So anybody briefing the Minister of Education should have given him all these antecedents, so that the next step is to identify these challenges, find ways that they can deal with these challenges before you make a pronouncement that this is going to be 100%, there's going to be 100% implementation. Once the challenges that face this particular thing is still in operation, it makes it difficult for anybody to take the pronouncement of the minister seriously.
Peter, stay with me. Let me bring in Daniel Fenyi. He is the spokesperson for the Ghana Education Service. Fenyi, thanks for your time here on the News Night. Is this one that the GES is already implementing across our schools at that level compulsorily?
But let me thank you for the opportunity. Yes, indeed. I should mention that for the existing frameworks that we came to meet, we do not currently have 100% L1 usage as medium of instruction at the early grade level. We do not have that. And the minister's directive is that at the early grade level, we should use the L1 as medium of instruction. All right. The orientation is quite simple. But
explain something to me. If the framework says you should have it, why don't you have it?
Indeed. As I mentioned, the framework does not indicate that there is supposed to be 100% usage of the local language. What we came to meet had percentages. So, for example, in KG, I think they are looking at 90% or 80% use of the local language. In class 1, they are looking at, as you move on, it reduces because they are picturing the transition in primary 4. And so they are looking at about 80%, 90% local language in KG. I think 60-70% in class 1, I think 50% in class 2 or so. That's what we came to meet. But the question is, how do you measure that you have used 50% or 60% Ghanaian language in your classroom? What the minister seeks to achieve with this is that we are taking off these whole percentage calculations and using 100% interactions in the in the local language. And so that is the directive of the minister. So the framework does not say that there's 100% usage at the early grade level. Now, the minister believes that at the early grade level, it is important to interact with the learners, as Doctor said, in a language they understand and appreciate better. Because in any case, what are we even attempting to achieve? The ultimate focus is that when I come to class and I'm teaching 1+1, my learners should be able to understand. When I'm teaching them 2+2, they should be able to understand, right? What language would I use to help teach these concepts? It is supposed to be the language that the learners understand. And usually, it's quite easy for them to understand their native language or the language they are familiar with, right? Because these are languages that in the home, in the market, in their communities, they use to interact and speak with and all that. So they get to appreciate the language better. So when they come to the classroom and you are using that same language to communicate with them, interact with them, and use to teach them, it's quite easier for them to grasp the concept you attempt to teach. So that's one. Number two, right from class 4 up to the university level, even for those who continue with the master's and the PhD, they'll be interacting in English language. The medium of instruction is English language and all that. If you are not careful and instill some cultural heritage, some your identity and language in the learners at that foundational level, you risk losing them to the English language and to foreign cultures as they grow, because the use of English language will dominate the academic journey. So if there's an opportunity to...
Yeah, and finally, the benefits of teaching children at that level in the local dialects, in the language they can't comprehend, it's well documented. I mean, there are volumes of scientific research on this matter that is incontrovertible. But stay with me quickly. Peter, he's explained what the minister's directive really was. Do you have clarity now on what the minister is asking for? It says there are percentages. Difficult to measure that. The minister says 100%.
No, there's no clarity. As I said, the framework says that the local language is mandatory for instruction at the lower level, as we said, KG 1 to primary 3.
But he clarifies.
What is being implemented?
He clarifies that that's not what the policy says. As the framework says, it should be the medium of instruction, but it isn't the 100% medium of instructions.
That is where I'm coming. It's because of the challenges of pushing for 100% use of the local language. That is why, on the field, in terms of implementation, you will see the 70% and other things that was proposed by Professor Mensah. So it is for easy implementation. That is why they talk about the 70-30%. And that's why I'm saying that if the minister is coming to announce 100%, he should tell us how he aims to, how he plans to address the challenges that led to the proposal of the 70-30. Then we can have a conversation. But you don't just come and make an announcement that you are going to ensure 100% introduction of a local language as a medium of instruction.
And finally, to that point that Peter just made there, we just heard, just before you came on, from the NATS president, who enumerated one of the challenges that even at the training colleges, the teachers, those who are training to graduate as teachers, they are not equipped to teach our children in the local languages. They can't implement this. So where is the strategy to deal with the challenges that Peter says have been documented over the years? That is a reason why we have the 70%, 90% instead of 100% implementation.
All right, so let's begin from this angle. So the teachers in the colleges, of course, especially the early grade teachers, they are not necessarily to be seen and treated as language teachers. They are teachers who are coming to teach all the subjects at the early grade level, i.e. all the subjects they do, the social studies, the science, and all that. So they are taught pedagogy. They are taught teaching methodologies. And, if you have been through the college system, you are taught such that for any level of learners you meet, their diversities, their different backgrounds, idiosyncrasies, and all that. You are able to handle them. In fact, that is part of the training. And so, when you go to there are 12 documented languages that we write and officially use for interactions in our schools. I mean, even though there are about 80, studies have shown there are about 80 to 90 different languages in the country, we use 12 officially for, and these are the documented ones. I mean, we don't teach all the 12 to our teacher trainees in the colleges of education. However, what we teach them is methodology. In fact, to the extent that when you even meet a learner who, excuse me to say, cannot speak, I mean, a learner with a disability, you are still able to teach that learner. And so in the training of the colleges of education, you are able to see that integrated in it. However, now that the policy has indicated that there is supposed to be 100% of implementation, we would expect or we would engage with the colleges to see how now we could have that explicit integration in their curricula, so that we know, because we are going to train our students in the L1 or the local language, the trainees who graduate are also fully prepared. But I can assure you that at the moment, the training they receive in the colleges, especially the early childhood training that they received at the colleges, is fairly sufficient for them to handle diverse needs of the learners when they meet them.
Fine, for what you've just said then, as we speak tonight, our education system is not equipped to roll this out 100%.
Indeed, if you mention that our education system is not equipped to roll this out 100%, we, from where we sit, believe that we have sufficient measures and structures to roll this out. And the reason is quite simple, right? The reason is this, that if you find yourself in a classroom, of course, in the a typical Ghanaian classroom is very heterogeneous because of how our cultural makeup is, right? So we have different learners from different language backgrounds, cultural backgrounds, and all that. However, you should be able to teach in the dominant local language in the community, in the classroom, in the local context you find yourself. So if, for example, you find yourself in the central region, a school in the central region, and it is Fancy that dominates, then you are expected as a teacher that in your interactions, you are going to use Fancy or the tree, which they understand, to be able to interact. Same for when you find yourself in a school in, let's say, Greater Accra. If it is Ghana that dominates the community or that dominates the classroom, then you are expected to interact in that. However, if it is Akan, so even if the school is in Accra, but Akan dominates or Chi or Fancy dominates, then you are also to use the Chi or the Fancy. So there's no strict hard and fast rule that once you find a school in Accra, you are supposed to use Ghana to teach. For which reason, when you sit back and you assume or you imagine, you are able to easily say there are not enough Ghana teachers or Ghana training available in the colleges of education, so we don't have sufficient teachers. But if you are going to look at what dominant languages prevail in the various communities, in the various classrooms, and how can the teachers manage the local languages, don't forget that even outside the local languages, we're already using English language, which is somebody's language. English language, I mean, a learner from class 1 or a learner in class 1 or KG, they don't have anything to do with English language, but they are so taught it. They are so instructed in it. They are so learning in the English language. So if we can do that with somebody's language, how much more our local language? If you picture it from that perspective, then you are able to see that, no, this is actually doable with some level of commitment, with some level of strategy, with some level of course, engagement with stakeholders and support from stakeholders. This is actually doable, and so we can roll it out and then fashion out as and when some of these challenges. So, for example,
thank you very much. In the interest of time, Daniel Thanya, I'm grateful. He is a spokesperson for the Ghana Education Service, and this obviously is a subject that needs further interrogation, and you can trust that on the Prime on Joy News Channel. There's going to be a further discussion on the matter on the news there, and we can have a debate on this too. You obviously you were instructed in English,
Yes, I was.
Pal, and I'm pretty sure that James was also instructed in English.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess I'm the only one who had a bit of both because I went to a proper Saito, and so I mean some of the teachers that spoke Chi with us. Others in the Ga community, I rarely had Ga, but for me it's fine. I mean I speak Ga, so it's fine. But I had a lot of Chi in the classroom from our teachers as well. Those who spoke Fanti did too. So yeah, I mean I'm streets ahead because the data and the research says if you learn a bit of your local dialect, you are better.
Better.
Well, that's of course. It puts the kid at a great advantage instead of when you do English alone.
I think learning your local dialect is very important.
Yes.
Yes, I think it's very important.
If it's
in
a
as much as
medium,
we want to be instructed in English,
yes.
I think there's a need for us to also look at our local dialect as well.
Yeah, it's a primary medium of instructions. Pearl is lost. I mean, she's wondering whether she wants to go back and join my school at Dabraka and start all over again. What do you have in the headlines?
Also coming up in business this evening, IC Research forecast Bank of Ghana to cut policy rate further to 19% at next Monetary Policy Committee meeting next month. And government to roll out district housing program to expand housing access nationwide and decentralize housing provision from next year. We'll tell you more from the just ended EcoBank Joy News Habitat Fair. Business News on Newsnight is brought to you by MTN Business. Welcome to the new world of business. Kingdom Books and Stationery, your number one stop shop for all office essentials, Syntex tanks, and Pepsodent Herbal and Charcoal.
Ah, Ma, have you received the delivery?
Sis, the rider's bay. Send in a momo.
Okay, *176.
Ah, Paco. Don't you use a smartphone? Use a momo app, ne?
Huh? Abba app.
Hey, I want to say a millennium, say millennial. Inim. Oh, millennium for ya nyaze. Switch to the app. Oh, you're smart. And oh, you're secure.
Enter a world of possibilities with the Momo app. Pay your favorite merchant, pay utility bills, and borrow from our wide range of lending services. Move to the app side today. MTN.
Son, we are so proud of you for setting up this hospital. I really love those hospital beds and waiting chairs. By the way, did you import them?
No, Dad, I didn't. I actually got them from Kingdom Books and Stationery right here in Ghana.
Wow. We also bought our office supplies, safes, executive desks, and chairs from Kingdom, and they gave us expert advice on how to set up our office.
Guys, that makes 3 of us. I also got our sofa and bedroom sets, plus our dining hall furniture for our new home from Kingdom.
Wow, Mom, that makes 4 of us. I usually get my stationery items from Kingdom. And my teacher also mentioned that our classroom furniture was provided by Kingdom.
So there you have it. Whenever you're thinking about setting up an office or acquiring furniture for your home, etc., Kingdom Books and Stationery should be your first port of call. With over 40 years experience in the industry, we stock and supply a wide variety of globally sourced office and home furniture, stationery and equipment. Visit our head office, Takweje, Osu near the Osu Cemetery, Temania Community 4, Takoradi opposite Vijay Mays Plaza, Cape Coast University Bookshop, Spintex Road near Absa Bank, Atomic Centerpoint Mall, Winneba University Campus, KNUST, the University Bookshop, and Santasi in Kumasi. You can also visit our shop online, www.kingdomstoreonline.com. Hurry while stock lasts. For further inquiries, contact us on 050-162-0810 or 0302-764-101. Email info@kingdomgh.com. Kingdom Books and Stationery Limited, where quality and affordability is assured. Terms and conditions apply.
For many years, we've been solving Ghana's water storage problems with quality tanks. Syntex tank. You know, it is strong, it's tough, and reliable. And now, we're in to solve the #1 problem when it comes to water carriage: our pipes. With the state-of-the-art machinery, Syntex is providing very strong, tough, reliable, high quality and durable pipes at a reasonable price. This is Syntex Pipes. With Syntex Pipes, water flows wow. I mean, ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta. If they carry water, no wahala. With Syntex Pipe, our water problems are solved. Syntex, are you strong? Are you tough?
Pepsodent.
Brushing gets more fun with your kids with the new Pepsodent Kids toothpaste. Give your smiles protection that lasts. Grab yours today from a store near you. This advert is FDA approved.
This year is going to be sweet. I don't just feel it, I know it, because the Luckiest Season 3 is back.
And I'm about to show you how to grab your golden ticket. Just dial *712# and follow the prompts to purchase your ticket. Or go to theluckiestafrica.com, hit community tickets, and pick your lucky number.
Or let the system do its magic. Choose how much you want to spend from 1 to 5,000 Ghana cedis. You can even buy a ticket for someone else. Be someone's hero. Payment? Easy. Mobile money in Ghana or card if you're international.
One ticket can turn 1 CD into 500 times more. That's maths we love. Or your community could win 10 times more. So let's get lucky together because luck is everywhere.
Every mosquito study run away.
This advert is FDA approved.
Welcome back to Business on Newsnight. My name is James Ishan. Let's settle for the details now. The Bank of Ghana will cut its policy rate between 250 basis points and 300 basis points in its next meeting in November 2025. That's according to a report by IC Research. Yes, more.
According to a leading financial research firm, IC Research, this is on the back of a further drop in inflation in October 2025. Ghana's annual headline inflation returned to the Bank of Ghana's medium-term target band for the first time since August 2021. The headline consumer price inflation declined sharply by 210 basis points to 9.4% year-on-year in September 2025, falling faster than IC Research's forecast decline of 190 basis points. The disinflation was largely broad-based as goods inflation, which accounts for 72.5% of the overall CPI basket, eased by 270 basis points to 11.2% year-on-year. The services inflation also moderated by 60 basis points to 4.8% year-on-year. IC Research said this reflects recent foreign exchange shift to the upside and the resultant upticks in domestic energy prices.
And that was a business desk report. Now, government has announced that it will soon roll out the district housing program designed to expand housing access nationwide and decentralize housing provision. According to Deputy Minister of Works, Housing and Water Resources Gisela Tetabuchi, this will allow Ghanaians to own homes in well-planned communities across all regions and districts. She spoke at the just-ended EcoBank Joint News Habitat Fair.
The government will soon roll out the district housing program designed to expand housing access nationwide and decentralize housing provision. This initiative will allow Ghanaians, including members of the diaspora, to own homes in well-planned communities across all regions and districts. It also offers attractive investment opportunities for the private sector to partner in delivering affordable, climate-resilient housing solutions. So the government takes the lead. Our expectation and our prayer is that the private sector will follow. The government remains resolute in its commitment to provide leadership and create the policy and institutional framework necessary for success. But the task of transforming a housing sector cannot rest on government alone. So it requires the collective effort of all, developers, financial institutions, professionals, and the public to make home ownership a reality for every Ghanaian.
You heard Deputy Minister of Works, Housing and Water Resources, Gisela Tete Abuchi. Now, Chief Executive of the Chartered Institute of Bankers, Ghana, Robert Jato, says promoting ethics, professionalism and sustainability remains critical to strengthening the country's financial sector. He spoke at the launch of the Institute's Sports for Life Wellness program ahead of the 2025 Bankers Week.
Our mandate is to promote banking education, but also regulate the practice of the banking profession. People ask, what does that actually mean? It means developing trusted professionals for the financial service sector. It means putting ethics, professionalism, and sustainability on the agenda of banks and bankers. And it means being the talent and leadership engine for our country, particularly the banking sector.
Robert Jato is the Chief Executive of the Chartered Institute of Bankers, Ghana. Now, the Internet Society Online Safety Special Interest Group has held its regional online safety event in Accra to promote digital literacy and responsible online behavior among young people. President of the Internet Society Ghana chapter, Maud Ashon Elliott, urged the government to integrate online safety education into the national curriculum.
When we are talking about technology, it's a very dynamic space. And it's important that when we want to educate people, or let's say we want to add it to our curriculum, we need to do it with some form of urgency. And it has to be inculcated in the curriculum, even from creche. It's important for us to discuss the risk, the importance, the barriers, the challenges. I mean, everything that has to do with the internet and technology from a very young age, so that every stakeholder, will come on board.
Maud Ashon Elliott as the president of the Internet Society Ghana chapter. And that's all for business on Newsnight with me, James Ishen Evans.
James, thank you very much. So live here on Newsnight on Joy 99.7 FM. I'll be sharing your thoughts with the rest of the world pretty shortly. It's 05511119997. The government has announced plans to amend the Persons with Disabilities Act passed in 2006, introducing new provisions to strengthen compliance and enforcement. Presidential Affairs correspondent Marcel Wagba has more in the following report.
The mood at the Accra Teachers Training College as President Mahama announced various interventions his government is rolling out to make life better for persons with disabilities. The Persons with Disability Act 2006, Act 715, applies to both public and private buildings when it comes to accessibility. President Mahama announced that under the proposed amendment to Act 715, government will increase the term of imprisonment for persons who fail to comply and also raise the fines to make them more deterrent.
We will enforce the Ghana accessibility standards for all public buildings and facilities. Therefore, in the Amendment Act to Act 715, we will increase the term of imprisonment for persons who refuse to comply. And we'll also increase the fines that they have to pay. Act 715 says the penalty for not complying is 3 months in prison or 600 cedis. 600 cedis is too small. So in the new act, we're going to increase the penalty, and maybe we'll increase the imprisonment from 3 months to 6 months.
President Mahama also revealed that government will introduce a new system for distributing rechargeable motorized wheelchairs to persons with disabilities across the country.
Intend to introduce a system for distributing rechargeable motorized wheelchairs for persons with disability. And so, after that good news, I've directed all ministers of state to review their obligations under the Disability Act and present action plans for full compliance within the shortest possible time.
President Mahama said government will enforce a minimum 5% employment quota for persons with disabilities across both the public and private sectors.
We would enforce a minimum 5% employment quota for persons with disability. And this will be across public and private sectors. Private sector organizations that meet the quota, they will be given tax incentives.
You hear that President John Dramani Mahama. Joining us via telephone now is Joseph Achuhomaji. He is the president of the Ghana Federation of Disability Organizations. Good evening. Thank you for your time on Newsnight. I'm sure you have the president. Just wanted to find out from you, how significant is the government's decision to amend the 2026 Disability Act for the disabled community in Ghana?
Hello?
Just want to get your reaction to the government's decision to amend the 2026 Disability Act.
Your line is very thin.
Let's try it again, Mr. Homaji. You had the president speak clearly there. Just wanted to find out your reaction to the government's decision to amend the 2006 Disability Act.
Are you asking me?
We apologize for that. We'll try and raise him as and when it's necessary. Evans.
And you're live here on Newsnight on Joy 99.7 FM. I want to take you onto the trail of the National Science and Maths Quiz, because there has been some very interesting results that we're learning about, and I'll get our colleagues on the ground to give us an update pretty shortly. I know a few schools right now are wondering what's happening to mine. Well, in a contest famed for speed, wit, and mental endurance, this year's National Science and Maths Quiz is witnessing something extraordinary. 3 sets of identical twins competing not just for points, but in perfect sync, from Ofori SHS with Bree Girls and Wesley Girls High School. These siblings are defining teamwork, proving that when two minds think as one, brilliant doubles.
Substances between cells. Who are we? Yes, or for opinion?
Plasmodesmata.
Correct.
The carbon cycle.
Correct.
6.0 meters.
Yes.
In a competition where every second counts, 3 pairs of contestants share more than just strategy. They share DNA. This year, the National Science and Maths Quiz has a rare twist: 3 sets of identical twins, all chasing one crown.
Because we are twins and we're doing most of our stuff together, we know where each other is better when it comes to solving a question.
At Bree Girls, it's the same story told differently.
We are winning this year because we have put much effort into it.
Over at Wesley Girls, the twin code takes a different form.
She has to start answering the question, then I'll complete it for her. Something like, she'll start with the value, then I'll continue with the exponent in the unit. So.
To be joined on the phone lines by my colleague Adobia Asari. She's been monitoring events there for us. Adobia, good evening. Thank you for your time on Newsnight. Give us the results of today's contest.
Right tell from CNC, where I covered the contest. St. Mary's was when contesting with Archbishop Potter Girls and St. John's School, which is seeded. Now St. John's has won the contest here. They won with 65 points, which is even the highest scorer of the day right here in this auditorium. Then Archbishop followed with 47, and St. Mary's has been because they came in 3rd place. They will unfortunately have to go home, while St. John's School makes it to the quarterfinals. Now, at SGS Auditorium, Wesley Girls has just lost their seed to Abetifi Presbyterian High School. They were leading in round 1 with 10 points, but somehow along the line in the contest, Abetifi overtook the lead position and have won the contest with an 11-point gap. Ogasco is also at neck and neck with St. John's Grammar currently at Auditorium 900. That contest ended, but if it ends, we'll bring our audience up to speed.
Arabia, thank you very much. And let me bring you an update on the other contests. Papani, what do we know?
Well, we know that Wesley Girls as well was also contesting 2 other schools. And as we understand that, it took them to the very last question, and Wesley Girls will now lose their seeded position to Abetifi. And we're seeing that online already. People are saying that Abetifi Presby SHS have used their Abeti to push Wesley Girls out of the contest as it stands now. So Wesley Girls is going back all the way to regional qualifiers. A very difficult place to be, actually. But we know that St. Augustine's College is going through. And then also St. John's School is also way good. Funny enough, St. John's is the boys' school of Archbishop Potter Girls. So love affair definitely gone wrong. Somebody has to do with the breakup at this point in time.
And Evans, when Papani mentioned St. Augustine's, he was smiling. I was just wondering why.
Me?
No, Papa Ni.
No, I'm a proud of daddy actually.
Okay.
The best school in the National Science and Maths quiz.
Well, I disagree.
Well, just before we go, it was a grand finale of unbeatable housing deals, expert insights, and innovative home solutions at the EcoBank Joy News Habitat Fair 2025, which ended on Sunday with over 80 exhibitors showcasing housing and land deals plus accessories. Patrons say they had the best experience under one roof. There's more in this report.
It was 4 days of exhibitions, expert engagements, and exclusive home deals that excited participants. Homeowners, prospective buyers, real estate developers, and suppliers shared with Joy News how they took advantage of the numerous discounts and networking opportunities.
I heard today is the last day, so I decided to pass through. And I like what I'm seeing. The doors, the security systems, CCTV cameras around, make certain choices, and I'm hoping to get in touch with them.
I came to the Habitat Fair because of solar. I always hear the adverts on Joy FM, and even to the extent of if you want pre-financing, it can go even up to that level. So I came and I think I have had answers to my questions.
All exhibitors, including top construction firms and home improvement brands, described the fair as a timely initiative that connects suppliers directly with consumers while promoting quality and affordability in the housing sector.
Had potential clients who are willing to patronize our doors and even kitchens, so it meets our expectations.
It's been great this year, so we're excited.
Head of Sales and Marketing at the Multimedia Group Limited, Max Fuga, noted the satisfaction of both exhibitors and attendees reflects the success of the theme, Dream It, Own It, Live It.
It was one of the most successful we've organized so far. In terms of sales, most of our exhibitors sold their products. Our patrons and attendees were all excited, and as organizers, can only say that once our key stakeholders are happy, we are happy.
And that'll be all for On News Night. I am Pearl Ofori.
And I'm Evan Spencer.